Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to the channel. So in our last video, I talked about don't emasculate your man, right? So I know it seems like I'm on this whole relationship kick, and I guess rightfully so. But this is something that has been brought to my attention, and I want to bring it to yours. So oftentimes when a woman has a baby or is pregnant, the focus is on her, right? And rightfully so. But oftentimes men get left out of the conversation. And so it's, their role is to, take care of her and make sure she's good. And that's good, right? We want to make sure that the woman is taken care of, the unborn child is taken care of. At the same time, we have to give some room to dads, right? Because one of the things that we don't oftentimes think about is men and what they're thinking when a baby is coming. So, oftentimes a woman is like, it's going to change her whole body. They're experiencing it physically. I would say emotionally and mentally too. But, a lot of times you think about it from the from the physical standpoint. So a man, though, is experiencing it as well, but he's experiencing it totally differently. He's experiencing it from the mindset of, okay, this is another another person that I have to provide for and take care of from a financial perspective. So let me make sure that my ducks are in a row, or starts to think about all of these things that are on his mind from a financial and provider standpoint. Now, is this every man? Probably not. I'm not speaking for every man, but I do know from the work that I've done with maternal mental health that these are some of the things that men are thinking about. They're not conveying that information. They're just processing in their minds, like, okay, I need to get my money in order. I need to make sure I can do this. I need to make sure I can do that. All the things. So when baby comes, right, mom has had the privilege of carrying this baby for 9 months. And so she's had the opportunity to, be woken up in the middle of the night or be uncomfortable and experience all these things. Well, dad is like chilling in the background and like, what we think is like chilling in the background. He's not experiencing it from a physical standpoint, right? I do believe that there are some internal stresses that he's experiencing from a financial, making sure that he's got his ducks in a row, and the oncoming responsibility for a new child and all the things that come along with having a child, daycare, all of the expenses, right? We do not, men and women don't think the same. So that's just how it is. But I think a lot of times too that we don't consider or think about what they're experiencing in that postpartum phase. So we've given birth and our bodies are going through our hormones all over the place. We're experiencing all the things, right? And so they look to us. We've been the one carrying, so they look to us to be able to take care of baby and to know what to do, right? But oftentimes moms don't know what they're doing, right? If it's your first time, I don't care how many kids you have babysat or whatever, until you have a baby, you don't know it until you don't know it until you know it, right? Until you've had a baby and had firsthand experience having to take care of an infant and your body heal at the same time, right? It's a lot going on, your hormones crazy, all the things. And so with men though, of course, they haven't had that experience, but we oftentimes forget that they haven't had, that they're experiencing something totally different. So, and we want them to know what to do, right? We don't know what to do, but we want them to know what to do. However, when they're not doing what we want them to do the way that we think they should, then we go all in on them and just say, you know what, forget it. I'll do it myself. And then later on we get upset, maybe resentful that they're not helping or they're not doing more than what we are. It seems like we're doing all the things, but we haven't given them the room or the space to learn how to do things their way, because they're not going to do the things the same way that we are. Even if it was two women, in a household with a baby, a newborn infant, they're not going to do two things the same way either. However, we give grace to her because we feel like, okay, she's a woman and she probably has, some experience or some maternal instinct or whatever, which is not true of every woman. But we don't give dads that same grace. We're like, okay, you're not doing it our way, so we're not gonna, no, stop, don't do it or whatever. So what we've done is we've taken away his confidence to be able to be involved with this infant, right? And then we get upset though. We say, oh, you're not helping, you're not doing anything, I got to do all the things, but we haven't given them room. And so I'm bringing that up because a lot of times relationships start to disintegrate during this time period. I can remember a friend of mine, we were pregnant at the same time. And so, you kind of vet out pediatricians trying to find out who's the right person for you or whatever. And so the pediatrician that she was interviewing was like, she ended up going with them. And so after she had her baby, she came back. And I think it was like 6 weeks later. And he was like, oh, y'all are still together? And I was talking to her and her husband, and he was like, yeah, a lot of marriages end during this period because it's a lot. I can speak and attest from my own self that it was a lot. It was a lot for me to deal with. My body was all crazy, especially with my first one, because I went through all these traumatic events, but it was hard for him too. And so later on, we've talked about some of the things that he was experiencing but he wasn't expressing. So, my husband was thinking about the financial responsibilities. He was thinking about all the things that he was going to have to now be prepared to handle because we were bringing on, an addition to the family. And I was one of those mamas, so I'm going to raise my hand. And I was like, what are you doing, right? Not giving him grace. But let me let you in on a little secret. One day my baby was crying and he just would not stop crying. And I think I was like, I don't know what to do. So I gave him to my husband and I took a walk and I called my mama crying and was like, I don't know what to do. I don't think this baby like me. Like, I need some help, right? So, I was able to take a minute to reach out to her to let her know, like, I'm on the struggle bus. Help me do something. But my husband who would he have said that to? Where could he have gone? Because he couldn't come to me, right? Because I'm already on the struggle bus. I'm milk coming from everywhere. I had a C-section. I mean, it was a lot. So he couldn't come to me, right? Because I can't help you. I'm just going to be honest. At the time, I was not going to be receptive to anything he had to say about not being able to handle the situation because I wasn't doing the best myself. So I'm saying all that to say that I think we need to give men some more grace. And because they oftentimes don't express, because who are they going to express it to? If they tell their, maybe if their dad is around or they tell their homeboy, it's just like, dude, just get over it. This is just how it is. Just, kind of suck it up. Well, yeah, okay. But at the same time, I think there needs to be more conversations had about what it is that men are experiencing, because a lot of times we feel like we're taking the brunt of it. Our whole world has changed and they're not experiencing anything. And so that's just not the case. And so, those are some things that I just want to point out, that they are going through their own things, even though they may not be expressing them. So as we're raising our sons, right, we want to start with the end in mind. Knowing this, we want to, as we're raising our sons to, show them, like include them in on, of course, like tasks around the house, washing dishes, cooking, things like that. We want to, give them a space to be able to express themselves. So maybe they can't talk to their dad, but they can call their mom and say, Mama, this baby, I'm stressed, right? Because men need an outlet. They need a space too. And what we're seeing is this huge decline in, with men and women. There's, been this campaign for women for a long time to like rah, 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 women, girls, all the things. But what about the men? What about the men, right? And so we have to create a space for them. We have to give them space to be able to be open and express whatever it is that they need to express. Also, because there's an increase in the suicide rate among men. And, society, we need men to survive, right? We need both sexes, right? We both play an important role. And so those are things that I want us to, just to kind of consider, that even though men aren't expressing, and they might not ever say anything, they are experiencing some turmoil and some stress too in that postpartum phase. We just have to give them room and space to be able to talk about what it is that they are experiencing. Maybe it can't be with you, but there has got to be some outlet to be able to have them come together and talk about some of the stressors that they're facing, because they need it. We need it. And I think if we start with the end in mind, we start creating those spaces for our sons, so that as our sons become men, it is easier for them to vocalize, and that they have a space, and they don't become depressed and experience a lot of these mental health issues that men are expressing but keeping to themselves. So just, some food for thought. We do have a support group for dads, for new parents, and so for new dads. And so if that is something that you feel like your husband could benefit from, or you know of a dad or your dad that's watching, reach out to us. The information is in the notes, so down below. All right, until next time.